She mocked me online. Imagine being so pathetic your girl fakes cancer to leave you. I quietly posted her real medical records. 2 weeks later, the FBI raided her house live on Instagram. I, 32M, thought I had my life more or less mapped out. Not in some rigid, 5-year plan kind of way, but in the steady, comfortable rhythm of being with someone you picture a future with. Jenna, 29F, and I had been together for 3 years, and she was complicated. She had that gravity to her. The type of person who could walk into a room full of strangers and leave with half of them laughing and hanging on her every word. She was charismatic, sharp-tongued in a way people found funny, and she knew how to command attention. But underneath all that sparkle, there were cracks, little comments she'd make at my expense, the way every story she told made her the hero, or the sly digs when she thought no one else noticed. I chalked it up to her sense of humor. I didn't want to be that guy who couldn't take a joke. We lived together in a small one-bedroom apartment near downtown. It wasn't glamorous, but we made it ours. Plants on the balcony, a record player I bought from a thrift shop that she pretended to hate but used constantly, a crooked gallery wall of photos and posters we put up one night after too much wine. I thought those little things meant something, that they were the scaffolding of a shared life. Then, last fall, she dropped the bomb. She came home late one night, eyes puffy, hair undone, clearly having been out somewhere. I was sitting on the couch, half asleep, but when I asked where she'd been, she didn't launch into one of her usual vague answers. Instead, she sat down heavily next to me and said, "I can't do this anymore. We need to break up." It was like a record scratch in my head. I didn't even know what to say. I asked if she was seeing someone else. She shook her head quickly. No, no, it's not like that. I just, I need to live my life, and you deserve someone who can give you everything. Those words were cliché enough to sting, but then she added, in a whisper, almost like she wanted me to believe she was being noble. And there's something else. I've been dealing with a health issue. It's not fair to tie you down. I froze. She told me she'd been diagnosed with cancer, that she hadn't wanted to tell me because she didn't want me to feel obligated to stay, that this was her way of setting me free before things got worse. I can't describe the cocktail of emotions I felt in that moment. Fear, guilt, anger, mostly confusion. Cancer? My girlfriend, the woman I shared a bed with every night, was apparently carrying this terrifying secret alone, and her solution was to dump me so I wouldn't be burdened. I sat there, holding her hand, not knowing whether to beg her to reconsider or just sit quietly in shock. She kissed my forehead, stood up, and said she'd start packing her things in the morning. 2 weeks later, she was gone. I tried to be understanding. I really did. I told myself that maybe her way of coping was by pushing people away, that maybe she was trying to protect me, twisted as it seemed. But little things didn't add up. She moved into a new apartment almost immediately, nicer than ours. She was constantly posting on Instagram, photos with friends, smiling, drinking, looking nothing like someone enduring chemo. I reminded myself not everyone looks sick, and not every battle is visible. I didn't want to be the bitter ex. Friends, though, kept mentioning her bravery. Apparently, she'd opened up about her diagnosis online. She was documenting her journey with vague captions and carefully chosen photos, hospital gowns, for drips, motivational quotes about fighting and surviving. People ate it up. Then came the GoFundMe. Her sister shared it first. Help Jenna fight this battle. Every little bit counts. Donations poured in. $10 here, 50 there, some even 1,000. Within weeks, she had raised tens of thousands. By the time spring rolled around, the total was nearing $200,000. I didn't donate, not because I didn't care, but because something about it all felt off. I remembered the night she broke up with me, the way she said the words almost like a script, the fact that she moved into a better place, the energy she seemed to have at every party with the girls. Still, I kept my mouth shut. Who was I to question it? One night, about 6 months after the breakup, I was working late at the hospital. I'm an IT analyst for the regional medical center, not a doctor, not a nurse, just the guy who keeps the systems running. Out of morbid curiosity, I asked a friend in records, someone who owed me a favor, to check if Jenna had ever been admitted. Just her name, nothing more. When my friend messaged me back, the answer was short. She's never been treated here. No oncology records. No chemo. Nothing. I remember staring at that message for a long time, my chest tightening. The 4 drip photos she'd posted? I recognized them. They weren't from cancer treatments. They were from her ER visit 2 years ago when she had food poisoning. I'd been the one to drive her. The hospital gown pictures? Reverse image search showed some were literally stock photos. It hit me like a truck. Jenna had faked everything. She didn't have cancer. She never did. For weeks after I pieced it together, I carried the knowledge like a hot coal in my chest. Every time Jenna posted another courageous update, every time mutual friends gushed about how strong she was, I felt the urge to scream. But I kept quiet. Not because I was protecting her. Far from it. I was protecting myself. If I went public, if I shouted from the rooftops that she was lying, everyone would assume I was the bitter ex trying to ruin her reputation. She had the sympathy, the followers, the money. I had what? A story about a couple stock photos and a hunch? I told myself it wasn't my fight anymore. I'd been dumped. I'd been set free. Let someone else figure it out. Still, it gnawed at me, especially when I saw the donation counter tick higher. $120,000, $160,000, $200,000. Families were giving up savings. Kids were doing bake sales. Retired couples were mailing checks. All for a woman who, as far as I knew, was spending it on champagne brunches and wellness retreats. And then came the post. One Friday night, scrolling through Instagram, I saw a screenshot making the rounds. It was from Jenna's story. White background, black text, classic clapback style. Imagine being so pathetic your girl has to fake cancer just to get away from you. LMFAO. Hashtag upgrade. My heart stopped. She wasn't just lying. She was mocking me, weaponizing the lie, turning me into a punchline for her followers. The woman who conned hundreds of people out of thousands of dollars had the audacity to drag me as the weak, gullible ex. That was the switch. Something cold settled in me. The anger stopped boiling and instead sharpened into something precise. I wasn't going to rant online or throw a fit. I was going to end this the only way that mattered, with facts. I still had access to certain files from back when we lived together. When Jenna had her ER visit years ago, she'd signed a HIPAA release listing me as her emergency contact. That form hadn't expired, which meant, technically, I could request her medical summary legally. So I did. It wasn't glamorous. No cloak and dagger hacking, no late-night break-in. Just paperwork, IDs, and a patient portal. A few days later, a PDF arrived in my inbox. Jenna's complete treatment history from our hospital system. There it was in black and white. 2019, food poisoning admission. 2020, a sprained wrist. 2021, annual checkups. 2022, a sinus infection. Nowhere was there mention of oncology consults, chemotherapy, radiation, or anything resembling cancer treatment. I opened Photoshop, blurred out private identifiers like her SSN and address, but left her name and the absence of diagnoses clear. Then I drafted the post. It wasn't dramatic. No insults, no emojis. Just a calm, factual caption. Imagine being so pathetic you steal $200,000 by pretending to be sick. These are your real records. Ask her about the money. I attached the screenshots. Click post. Sat back. Within an hour, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Comments piled up, people tagging each other, asking if this was real. Some demanded I take it down, accusing me of violating her privacy. Others thanked me for exposing the truth. The thread turned into a digital war zone. Her defenders came in hot. You're just bitter. You hacked her. This is revenge porn of medical files. But donors, actual people who had given money, weren't buying it. They started commenting receipts, screenshots of their donations, heartfelt notes they'd written to her, demands for answers. Jenna herself went silent. No posts, no stories, just a sudden, deafening absence from her usual hourly updates. The next day, things escalated offline. Her sister posted a furious message calling me a stalker and a sociopath. Friends of hers messaged me threats. But I also got DMs from strangers thanking me. Parents who had donated after losing their own child to cancer, students who had emptied savings, neighbors who had believed every word. The pressure built like a tidal wave. I half expected Jenna to lawyer up and sue me for defamation. Instead, she reappeared online with a shaky video, claiming I had doctored the records. She insisted she was getting treatments at a private clinic out of state. She cried on camera, smeared mascara running, saying she couldn't believe her ex was so cruel. But by then, The seed of doubt had been planted. And once donors start asking questions, you can't unring that bell. In the following weeks, small cracks became gaping holes. A journalist reached out to me, someone local who had covered Jinnah's fundraiser in the paper months earlier. She'd been skeptical already, but my post gave her a lead. She started digging, calling clinics, checking nonprofits. Nothing matched Jinnah's story. Then, someone who had partied with Jinnah posted old photos of her on the very same days she claimed to be in chemo. Sunburn at the lake, cocktail in hand. Time-stamped, geotagged, impossible to deny. The dominoes started falling. By the time May rolled around, Jinnah had gone from inspirational survivor to questionable fundraiser queen. GoFundMe froze her campaign pending investigation. A lawyer representing several donors filed a civil complaint. And then came the whisper, federal fraud. I remember the exact night I knew it was over for her. Jinnah posted one last flex, an invitation-only victory party live stream. She decorated her apartment with balloons, hired a DJ, had champagne bottles popping while friends cheered. She wore a glitter dress and shouted into the camera about how haters could choke. And right in the middle of that live stream, a sound cut through the music, pounding on her door. Then, voices shouting, FBI, open up. Her camera caught the chaos as agents swarmed in, pushing past shocked guests. You could see her face, pure panic, before the feed cut out. The comments section exploded. Clips spread like wildfire across Twitter, TikTok, Reddit. She wasn't a hero anymore. She was a scammer caught live. Update 1. When I tell you the silence that followed was deafening, I mean it. For weeks, Jinnah had been the loudest person online, posting daily, sometimes hourly, updating strangers with inspirational quotes, hospital wristband selfies, and curated sob stories. But after that live stream cut off with the FBI in her doorway, everything stopped. Her Instagram went dark. The GoFundMe vanished. The group chats where she used to dominate with her voice notes and memes suddenly felt emptier, like a radio station that cut mid-song. But the internet? The internet never forgets. Clips of the raid spread like wildfire. People clipped the exact second the agents came in, Jinnah's face draining from smug defiance to pure terror. Someone even added dramatic music and slow motion. Memes popped up within hours, scammy Jinnah hashtags, side-by-sides of her chemo selfies, with the photos of her at pool parties. It was cruel, hilarious, cathartic, and it was also devastating for everyone who'd believed her. I started getting DMs, not just from strangers anymore, but from people who had been her closest supporters. One mom wrote, I sent her $500 after losing my own daughter to leukemia. I thought I was honoring her memory. I feel like an idiot. A college student messaged, I skipped rent 1 month to help her. I'm literally working double shifts now because of that mistake. But thank you for showing the truth. Even some of Jinnah's old friends, people who had defended her tooth and nail, apologized to me. They admitted she'd gaslit them for years, not just about cancer, but about everything. Little lies, big lies, relationships, jobs, even fake stories about abuse to keep sympathy flowing. I didn't know whether to feel vindicated or just exhausted. Meanwhile, the investigation snowballed. News outlets picked up the story. First local, then national. Headlines read, Instagram influencer accused of faking cancer to steal $200,000. GoFundMe scam ends with FBI raid live on camera. Ex-boyfriend exposes elaborate fraud. That last one, yeah, it had my name in it. Suddenly, I wasn't just the guy who got cheated on and mocked. I was the whistleblower. My inbox filled with requests from journalists, podcasts, even a Netflix docuseries producer who wanted to capture the human angle. I turned most of them down. The last thing I wanted was to turn my pain into entertainment. But part of me couldn't deny the satisfaction. For months, Jinnah had painted me as the pathetic ex. Now the narrative flipped. She was the scammer, and I was the one who had exposed her. Legally, things moved slower. The FBI confirmed what I suspected. She'd raised over $200,000 across multiple platforms. Bank records showed she'd spent it on luxury handbags, vacations, a new car lease, and cosmetic procedures. Not a single bill from a cancer clinic. They charged her with wire fraud, mail fraud, and money laundering. The kind of charges that don't just disappear with a lawyer and a sob story. Her family tried to spin it at first. Her sister claimed Jinnah had been misdiagnosed and that the money was being held for treatments. But the evidence was overwhelming. Even her parents eventually stopped defending her. The last I heard, she was out on bond, living back at her mom's place, awaiting trial. And me? I thought I'd feel pure relief, maybe even triumph. But the truth is complicated. Yes, there was vindication. Seeing her downfall, watching people realize I wasn't the villain in her story, that part felt good. But there was also this lingering heaviness. Because at the end of the day, I had loved her once. I had planned a future with her. I had believed her when she cried in my arms about being scared of dying young. To realize all of that was theater, it messes with your sense of reality. I caught myself second-guessing everyone. Friends, co-workers, even family. If Jenna could fabricate something so huge and carry it so convincingly, what else could people be hiding? Therapy helped. Talking it through, untangling the mess of anger and grief and betrayal. Understanding that exposing her didn't erase the scars she left on me. The weirdest part has been the strangers who treat me like some kind of hero. I'll get stopped at coffee shops by people who recognize me from the articles. They thank me for having the courage to share the truth. Some even try to confide their own stories of being conned or manipulated. It's humbling, but it's also surreal. I never set out to be anyone's example. I just wanted the lies to stop. As for Jenna, she still hasn't reached out directly. No apology, no explanation, just silence. Though I did get one anonymous message on an encrypted app weeks after the raid. It read, "You ruined me. I hope you're happy." I didn't respond. What could I say? She ruined herself. So here I am, months later, living quieter, simpler. I've cut back on social media. I'm rebuilding trust in the people around me. Slowly. And I'm learning something I never thought I'd have to. How to move on after being the collateral damage in someone else's con. Because yes, Jenna's story became a headline, a cautionary tale, maybe even a Netflix pitch. But to me, it was my life, my heartbreak, my trust shattered in real time. And no matter how many memes the internet makes, no matter how viral her downfall went, I'll never forget the night I sat on my couch, staring at her post mocking me, and realized I had the power to end it. That's the part no one really talks about. Not the raid, not the headlines, not the money. Just that single, quiet decision. And I don't regret it for a second. Final update that it's been a year since Jenna's house filled with FBI agents and her Instagram victory party turned into the most viral downfall of 2024. A year since I pressed post on her medical records, exposing the cruelest lie I've ever encountered. And now, finally, I can close this chapter. The trial lasted for months. Wire fraud, mail fraud, identity theft, money laundering. The charges stacked high like a mountain she couldn't climb. Her defense team tried everything. They argued she had mental health struggles that clouded her judgment. They claimed she'd been pressured by toxic online culture to perform. At one point, her lawyer even suggested I had manipulated her into scamming people out of pity. But the evidence was undeniable. Bank records, screenshots, witnesses, even her own texts, where she laughed about milking the cancer cow to fund her trips and surgeries. The jury deliberated for only 3 hours. Guilty, on every single count. When the judge read the verdict, I watched her face for any sign of remorse. Nothing. No tears. No apology. Just the same blank defiance I'd seen 100 times before when she got caught in a smaller lie. But this time, there was no smooth escape. Jenna was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. 8 years to sit with herself. 8 years without followers, fundraisers, or filters. The day of the sentencing, I walked out of the courthouse into the bright sun, and for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Peace. Not triumph. Not revenge. Just peace. Of course, her downfall didn't just end with a prison sentence. The people she scammed, hundreds of donors, filed civil suits. Some of them will get partial restitution, but most of the money is gone forever, blown on luxury handbags, flights, Botox, and champagne brunches. Her family lost their home after putting it up as collateral for her bail. Her sister, who once mocked me for not supporting Jenna's journey, now avoids public spaces because strangers spit at her in grocery stores. The ripple effect of Jenna's lies destroyed more than just her life. As for me, I had to rebuild. In the years since, I've stepped away from social media. The constant flood of DMs, the viral attention, it was overwhelming. People wanted updates, sound bites, quotes. They wanted me to keep being the guy who took down the scammer. But I didn't want that to be my whole identity. So, I disappeared for a while, moved into a smaller apartment, started working with a nonprofit that helps victims of online fraud, not because I wanted clout, but because I understood the pain of betrayal. I've met elderly people who lost retirement savings, parents who fell for fake medical fundraisers, even kids who donated their allowance to help strangers online. Each story reminded me that while Jinna's scam was extreme, it wasn't unique. People like her exist everywhere. But for once, instead of feeling bitter, I felt purposeful. And personally, I won't lie, dating again was hard. I carried trust issues like a backpack full of bricks. I second-guessed everyone's intentions. Was she texting me because she cared or because she wanted something? Was that compliment real or manipulation in disguise? It took months of therapy and one very patient woman to teach me that not everyone is Jenna. That being betrayed doesn't make me broken. It just means I survived something ugly. Now, I'm in a relationship with someone who values honesty above everything. No filters, no games, no curated lies. Just the kind of raw, steady connection I never knew I needed. It feels real. And after everything, that's all I want. A few months ago, I got one final reminder of Jenna. A letter, handwritten. The return address, a federal correctional facility. Inside was a single page. You destroyed me. I loved you once, and you chose to ruin me instead of protecting me. I'll never forgive you. I stared at it for a long time. Not because the words hurt. By then, they didn't. But because even in prison, even after everything, she was still rewriting reality in her head. She hadn't scammed strangers. She hadn't betrayed me. She hadn't stolen $200,000. No, in her story, she was still the victim. I didn't write back. I burned the letter in my sink. Because the truth is, Jenna ruined herself. So here I am, a year later. My life isn't glamorous, and it's not viral anymore. It's quiet, ordinary. But when I wake up now, I don't check my phone expecting another bombshell lie. I don't brace myself for public humiliation. I don't doubt the people closest to me every second. Instead, I breathe. I live. I trust, cautiously but surely. And when I think back to that night she posted, imagine being so pathetic your girl fakes cancer to leave you. I don't feel anger anymore. I just feel grateful. Because in the end, her cruel attempt to break me became the very thing that set me free. And that, to me, is justice.